Hi, I'm Mark Lowery. Welcome to another Tales from the Shed. Today, author question and answers. These are some of the most common questions I get asked when I visit schools or get stuff through the post or in Twitter or whatever. So I thought I'd answer them for you. Top one. Picture book is called um, The Giant Jam Sandwich. It's all about this plague of wasps that comes to a town, and then all the villagers trap it in a giant jam sandwich. Favorite book for kids is Holes by Louis Sacco, about this boy who gets imprisoned, and you've probably read it, and he has to dig holes for 18 months. Favorite book for adults is about gangsters. It's called The Godfather. Really famous book by Mario Puzo. Um, And then I've read so many amazing books. Recently, my favourite book I read this year was called Wilding. And it's a non-fiction book about this family who turned their farm into a kind of like a wilderness for wildlife. Absolutely amazing. Brilliant. Oh, wow. Well, there's so many ways you can do this. Number one, read. Read till you bleed. Read as much as you can and as many different things as you can as well. That's the most important thing. Second thing, write a lot. I know it sounds obvious, but the more you do it, the better you'll get. I think you've got to change the way that you read, and you've got to change the way that you write as well. So you've got to read like critically, so read things and think, oh, or watch films or watch TV programs and do it critically. So think, what's good about it, what could be better about it. If I was going to write this, how can I improve it? What could I do better than the person who wrote it, or what could I do differently? And then when you write as well, you need to write, but you also need to constantly be thinking, how can I improve? Editing, I think, is the most important part of writing. I can't remember which author it was. I think it was Philip Pullman, somebody amazing like that, said writers don't write, they rewrite. In other words, you spend most of your time changing stuff and deleting stuff, and only a small amount of your time actually creating. Well, I'm a primary school teacher, and when I first started out, I was really struggling to find the right text to teach the particular things we had to teach in class. And I kind of, because I was too lazy to look for the stories, I just started writing them. And I've really enjoyed it. I hadn't done it since I was a student, and I really, really enjoyed doing it. And then I went back to university and studied it for a year in Winchester, and that was one of the real best experiences of my life, going back and studying writing for children. And then I just worked and worked and worked at it for a few years, and then I was really fortunate to send my work off to somebody who liked it, because I got a lot of rejections. A lot of people weren't too keen, and I sent it off to somebody who really liked it, my agent Jilly, and it kind of went from there, really. Well, I always say I would have loved to have been a footballer, but unfortunately my dreams of playing for Everton were cruelly snatched from me when it turned out I was completely useless at football. Well, I don't know. They're just in my head. The problem isn't finding ideas, because they're everywhere. Everywhere you look, there's an idea for a story. Every time you walk down the street, you can imagine a character, and you can imagine the people you see, and where they might have come from, what they might be doing, and where they might be going. So there's no shortage of ideas. The problem is finding a good one. I mean, most of my ideas, I sit and I work at, and I think, what would be funny here, or what would make this story improve, or where could this story go? And there was one book I wrote, Charlie and Me, which came to me very differently. I'd had a really, really rough curry, and I couldn't sleep, and I was like, and I was lying in bed, and I was half awake, half asleep, and I just had this recurring vision in my head about dolphins jumping up in the air in a harbour, a dolphin jumping up again and again in a harbour, and then it just started to kind of gain a bit of clarity in my mind. You know, these two brothers watching it from the harbour, and then suddenly a poem started going in my head. And then by the morning, I had the whole story. That's really rare. Normally, it's something you sit and you work with, and you try and scratch your brains and think, what would work here? What would? But yeah, I don't really know. But probably the main thing is people, because people are so weird. You know, there's so many strange, weird people around who do strange, weird stuff. There's no shortage of ideas out there. Oh yeah, definitely, but not usually individuals. Usually, like, I'll get an idea for a character, and it'll be based on lots of different people, like a cocktail of different people. So I'll maybe think about, you know, say I'm writing a I don't know, a teacher, and I want them to be angry. And I'll think about all those angry teachers I used to have at school, and I'll think, oh yeah, remember what they used to do and what that one used to do. And then maybe there's a teacher or a character I've seen on TV, or somebody I've known who wasn't a teacher but just had this way about them. You know, this look in the eye, and then you start to put them together, and then you kind of shake them up a bit, just like a cocktail. But then you times them by 100, and you make them bigger and more angry, or more nasty, or more funny, or more weird, and so you kind of make this kind of mixture of people, but then amplify them, make them bigger, make them worse, make them weirder, whatever it is that you want from them. But yeah, it's really good fun. I do enjoy making characters up. Kind of depends on the book, really. So some books, first book I wrote, Socks Are Not Enough, took me about 3 years. And then some of the ones I wrote, the Roman Garstang Adventures, some of them took 6 months. Eating Chips and Monkey took me about a year. I mean, one of the things that people are always surprised about, people I teach particularly, are really surprised with how much time you spend editing. So, say I spend a year on a book, for example, it'll probably take me about 4 or 5 months to write the whole thing. And then I'll spend 7 months, 8 months changing it, deleting it, rewriting it, pulling out a scene and putting something else in, moving things around. And that's what really takes the time. You know, I've heard of books, one of the most famous kind of books of I don't know if it was the 90s or the noughties, was a book called Q&A, which got turned into a film called Slumdog Millionaire. And I think that took less than a month to write, and it's an amazing book. So it just depends on how you're working at that time, how much time you've got, and how it all comes together in your head, and how kind of finished it is when you've written your first draft. Tuna and onion, because when you first see me, you might think I'm horrible, I stink. But when you get to know me, I'm actually surprisingly nice. Oh, I just always wanted to be a writer. Ever since I was a kid, it was the one thing I really cared about at school, and I really wanted to be good at school. And it was the one thing I could sort of lose myself in. I always really wanted to create and tell stories in one way or another. Cheeky, naughty, not very, not hugely academic. I enjoyed school, and I liked all my friends and everything. I got on well with my teachers, but I was just really chatty and hyperactive, and probably a really infuriating person to teach. And but I enjoy writing, and like I say, that's the one thing I really kind of try at, and it was one thing that kept me quiet for an hour, I think. And I really used to love inventing things that were fun and clever and interesting. Oh, well, I've got 3 children, so they take up most of my time. So playing with them is my number one hobby. Other than that, I like playing football, go for a run, going and walking, swimming, reading, eating. I used to like hiking and stuff like that. We go camping a lot. Yeah, I just like being outdoors. I'd rather be outdoors than in. I like nature and things like that. Oh, these are quick fire ones. So, food. steak pie. Football team, Everton. Animal, badger. Sandwich, cheese and pickle. Cake, chocolate fudge cake. Holiday, Italy. Sport, football, obviously. This is harsh. This was an actual question somebody asked me once. I don't know. I thought I looked okay. No. Hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. Have a look at any of my other videos on here. Check out my books in the library or at a bookshop. And enjoy yourselves. Keep reading. Bye-bye.